Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. I have this weird lull in my voice because you are human just like me and I am human just like you. Every single time I go to click record or stop the recording, I mute myself and I just did it again. Here's Mac and she is a weapon in the training space as well. And as you ladies know, I do love getting into the nuances of the training. I do love teaching you guys how to train hard because it's most likely the training that's missing. That is why you can't see the physique that you want. Because over and over again, I'll ask you your opinions on this one, Mac. But in Facebook groups, people sharing photos of them, they look soft as hell and they complain about being soft as hell. Then they show a different photo where they gained too much fat and it doesn't look like they're any harder. And then they started doing some other stuff and they still look soft and they're not happy. And they don't really know what the answer is. But then you ask them if they have a coach or a trainer or they have a program that is made for progressive overload. And they're like, nah, I don't really have anything specific. I just do this. But it's not just in the programming. There's a whole lot more to what creates this muscly, well, it's femininely muscled, the femininely muscled athletic physique that you want. And yes, it looks lean, but that leanness comes from muscle. You cannot have lean without muscle. You might see some lean the first time you diet, but if you push that lever too hard, very soon, year after year, you're just going to look softer, shrinking your metabolism with that, and you're not going to feel any better in yourself. Mac, last time we spoke, you were about to go into a fat loss phase. Tell me a little bit about why you ended your fat loss phase early, and what are the trade-offs to
Yeah.
that?
Well, I've done several fat loss phases, and I've usually done them very long and well, and followed through and got to my goal. I've done one photo shoot, and that was as extreme as I took it. And now I'm like, okay, so just like a couple cleanup phases. So this last one, I had an event coming up that I wanted to clean up for a little bit. So I decided to go into, like a little, just clean up some maintenance, loose ends. So I did, and it was fairly aggressive. And I was dropping about a pound a week, which is aggressive. And I just started feeling like complete trash. Like I was unmotivated. I was so hungry. I was getting like really food focused. I just literally like walking felt like I was like trudging through like sand. I just like had no energy. And I was like, finally just like, it's just not worth it. Like I like the way I feel, in maintenance calories, eating more food that makes me more motivated to train. It makes you train better, train harder, which all in all just makes you feel better, right? So I just was like, I'm gonna pull myself out. I'm good. And that's the last time I did one. That was a while ago. So
Recognizing that is when you know that you've matured in your journey. And we are going to be speaking to people that are pretty overweight, people that are average, and people that are the leaner, well, not leaner, but the smaller skinny fat that feel like they have more fat to lose before they start building muscle. But really, it's the muscle that you need to build to look leaner. You'll hear all the sides to this, and we're going to debate it. We're going to talk through it. We're going to talk through the training and talk through the food aspect of it. But something that you missed from Matt's story is before this deficit, she was building for a long period of time. And the fat loss phases she done prior were ages before that building phase. Otherwise, she would not have been losing at that rate. It is hard to lose at a fast rate when the only lever you ever pulled was fat loss. And when you never gave yourself at least 1 year, yes, 1 year eating at maintenance. Oh, but that's too long. I just want to get rid of the fat. Well, you're not going to get smooth results, fast results, frictionless results until you put yourself through the discomfort, especially if that was your default every single time. Because this is now giving you a chance to rebuild that, exactly as Max said, rebuild that energy, the motivation to build your training capacity up. Because the harder you can train, the more calories you'll end up building while you're in a fat loss phase, but you're burning them in a way that's building muscle. You're building muscle burning more calories while you're building muscle because you're lifting more weight for more reps. And this is where the bottleneck comes, because a lot of people approach their training the wrong way to build muscle. So fat loss phases aside, we are going to be talking about what it takes to get that physique, because we know now the fat loss phases are the tiniest portion of this. The biggest portion is exactly this. So tell me about the training. What mistakes do you commonly see? And what is the number one thing that we want to have at the base of the pyramid when approaching our training? Because we know it's not the iliac fibers of the lat.
No, it's certainly not. That's more for us, right? That's our hobby. The common mistakes, I mean, I think are pretty much standard with women, right? High volume, high reps, sweaty. What did you say on your huffy puffy?
Do when you're in between your sets.
Yes, classes. So, side note, right now I am in a systemic phase, which for like a couple weeks, which just like a deload, right? I don't know if you've ever done a systemic phase, but it's very fast moving, very metabolic, little rest intervals, right? So this for like a couple weeks I'm here, just a deload. And I'm doing some combo moves and some things that I don't typically do, right? So this morning when I was doing it, I had to do like some squat to curl and like, you know, these combination moves that do leave you feeling, I thought about this, like they leave you out of breath, sweating, huffing and puffing. Muscles are burning because you're not lifting that heavy, but you're just kind of like going and going and going. And I'm like, I can see where people make this mistake of like thinking this is really effective training, but I'm not training to grow muscle tissue. I am training to kind of train the cardiovascular system.
It's a dealer, you said. So you're dealer from effective training for muscle building.
Correct. So it's a deload, exactly. So to train that energy system to prepare me for my next hypertrophy block in a week or two, you know? So it's just like a break. But where people think that the burning and the huffing and the puffing and like that's an effective workout, and it's cardio, more or less. So that's kind of like where a big mistake people make. You know, it's just like doing a class, you know, a HIIT class or a spin class. I mean, same concept is like you're just training cardio, really.
Yeah, and I feel like the burning sensation that you get and that huffy puffy, feeling like you're doing a lot of work, makes you feel like this is the way that you can stay lean while building muscle. Because that's what I used to think. For me, it wasn't the fact that I thought it was optimal for building muscle or optimal for getting lean. It was, I thought it was optimal for both, because now I'm feeling this burn. I'm doing a lot of work. Obviously, this is going to lead to the best muscle growth ever and the best leanness ever. But no, I was burning myself out. I was accumulating fatigue. And it was kind of like being in a fat loss phase, except a training fat loss phase, because I was just over it. So the way that Mack felt for her diet was how I felt to training. I was trying to put off every single session, driving home and then being like, fuck it, I'm just going to go back to the gym again. And then I'll have like no time left over to finish my workout. Like it just became a chore. Yeah. And we were talking before the podcast about the iliac fibers and the stuff we love to study, but none of that really matters on paper for most of you. So getting the right cable position, blah, blah, blah. Yes, the setup of your exercises matter so much. If you have shoulder issues, picking the D handles over the bar is probably the best way to go if you don't want to keep hitting plateaus or have more niggles coming up long term. Yes, there are things that are best to optimize. But the biggest factor that people miss is the effort that you are putting into your sets. Not the, oh my God, this is painful, I can't push another rep, but realizing you can push that rep plus another 3 more. And unless your legs are trembling on the leg extension to the point where it literally fails on a rep, that is not training to absolute intensity. And you can say, I've never squatted to the point where I bailed or I fell it onto the safeties. It's like, that's not really somewhere that you want to practice failing. You can if you want to. I quite like doing that, but I do that when I'm chasing strength, not chasing hypertrophy, because that's just going to add to more fatigue. So I use squats as a strength movement. Yes, that's gonna have a flow-on effect to hypertrophy if you're good at squatting, which that's something that I was good at when I was doing them, which I'm not doing them at the moment. I'm doing a lot of like, well, I'm not doing a systemic phase, but I'm doing a sort of deload in the sense where I'm doing more, let's clean up everything in terms of your movement patterns, your weaknesses. Let's add
Mhm.
in some planks here. Let's add in some hip flexor work, some more
Yep.
mobility stuffy. Like, I got a shitload more of that in. I got a shitload more of single leg work in and less fatiguing stuff like hip thrusts. I fucking hate
Mhm.
hip thrusts. I have 2 days of hip thrusts now.
Yeah.
Like, I have that sort of shit in my training that is going to prepare me for the next thing. Every
Right.
phase we do, this is where you're about to come in. Every phase we do, put in there as a way to, I guess, potentiate the next, lead into the next phase. But so many of us want to go 100% all the time because if our workouts don't feel effective, then we haven't earned this, or we haven't earned that, or it's not leading to anything conducive. Which I'm reading a book about productivity, and every time I read books on like self-help sort of stuff, I relate it to fat loss. So I'm like, I don't know if this is like self-helping myself, because I'm just thinking fat loss with all of this. And there was one where it came to like organizing a to-do list, the things that we do, blah, 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 is like a means to an end versus the actual end where we're living in the process, and just realizing that there's no such thing as time. We are time. We are moments in time. And that's the same with your journey. Like every single phase, every single part of you, week of you, photos that you take, measurements that you take, they're all just snapshots in time that go up, go down. And I feel like we live in this time scarcity where it's like, but I need to do it all now. I can't leave it for later because there's so much uncertainty in the future. You might not believe you can do it. So let's talk about the phases, but the phases in terms of what should training with the nutrition look like? What does this building phase look like? Say if someone came to you saying, let's start with avatar B, the average person in the middle. They
Mhm.
want to build muscle, improve their physique. They don't have a lot of body fat, but they're also not skinny fat. How are we going to start moving them towards progress?
Well, I mean, obviously it depends on their history. Have they been dieting for a long time? Have they been yo-yoing? Like, kind of looking at their history, of course. But I would say, starting somebody like that probably out of the gate, just in like a maintenance phase, in a hypertrophy phase, just like kind of teaching them how to push some training, because maybe they're coming from like, just a standard program of like, you know, lat pull downs and chest press and just like, your basic movements and like nothing fancy, which is fine. But I would say like start pushing the RPE scale, teaching them a little bit about how to, make each set harder, eating some food, eating a little bit of around your training, and just kind of like focusing there to start and then kind of see what happens. I mean, it's hard to say, obviously, like without any context, but that would be where I would start. Usually in maintenance, just like let's just see what happens. Like when you start pushing some weight, like get away from the classes, get away from the high intensity stuff, and like let's push some weight and rest. Take your rest intervals. Push some weight each set. Not these 30-second rests. They're gonna rest a minute to 3 minutes. Depending. And with some fuel on board and give it some time, right? And let's see what happens, and then go from there. Guarantee most people's physique will start to change in maintenance. Even if they are skinny fat or because they're just learning how to train, properly. I think will
If you
take
give
care of
yourself
a
the
lot.
chance to, that is.
What's that?
If you give yourself the chance to, that is.
Yeah, if exactly. If you give it time.
Yeah, Mac and I did not discuss any of this before we aired. She didn't know exactly what I'll be asking. But again, all she knew is that we're going to discuss these things together. And her answers are pretty much exactly what you would have heard me say. So no, we didn't discuss this stuff. But
No.
that's the thing. Like maintenance, if you give yourself the time, let's start there, because a lot of people think that if they take a step back, they're going to regress. Again, the time scarcity thing. If I let this go, I'm going to let myself go. There is no coming back from this. I say this because that was me. I was scared that if I went too far down this path with my coach, because he was taking me out of it, oh, now what happens if I can't get myself back? Because I already know that I was struggling so hard before. That fat loss is already very menial and arduous. And I was on 1,300 calories. I got up to 1,600 calories as my maximum, but nothing was budging. I was doing all this work with nothing to show for it. And I feel like that's where a lot of people find themselves. And it can be really difficult when you're in that place to then start with a coach and have that coach give you a higher calorie number. So I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to go backwards if it's not a higher calorie number, because then there are people that have probably already are eating at a higher number, but there's the exercise portion, doing all the exercise, doing all the cardio, all the extra stuff to make up for the calories because they need to eat all of this food in order to be away from their dieting phase where they were always hungry. And I get that because of my history, my appetite is through the freaking roof. I need big meals.
Yeah.
It's like, give me all the pasta. Like I was saying it to my coach the other day. I was saying it to Luke the other day, my mentor the other day. It was like, if I don't have a certain amount of carbs in a meal, it's not a meal to me. Like I'm not satisfied. I can have all the protein in it. I can have all the salad in it. I can have whatever. But if there is not a good, decent bunch of protein, I mean, carbs, hey, I get hungry soon after. This is what happens with muscle as well. And I want to go back to the phase as well, because I want to throw it back at you. I want to keep talking about this person that's moderate.
Yeah.
This is why maintenance is so important. But even more than that, because it's not just about the food. You need to learn how to train on a program made for you, because I've had people say they've trained hard, they have a program, they're following this program that changes every 4 to 6 weeks, which isn't enough. But if you get on a program that has movements that are the same for several months, like it doesn't matter if the accessories change every 6 to 8 weeks or the accessories change every 8 weeks, which is the common for most. They would usually change around the 8 to 10 week mark. But if you have the main meat and potatoes that are the same for months and months on end and improving on those things, you are going to build muscle. If you are finding yourself losing reps and losing weight some weeks on those compounds, when you're giving your 100% best, you will be building muscle because you're fighting to even keep the same, meaning your muscle is fighting with itself. Hey, we need to get bigger to be able to move this weight because we are failing it now. We got it this week. We're failing it again. That is exactly what it takes to build muscle on the moves that you can do that. But that's the thing. It's exactly what you said, learning how to train properly. That is the front and foremost thing, and then improving that intensity. And with that, your maintenance calories are going to increase. You will be able to eat more carbs and not have it store as fat because your body is going to use fuel more efficiently. The other mistake.
My favorite thing to tell people with the whole carb thing is like when you're contracting your muscle, like you want to think carb, 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 like you're using carbs. So like you're using it in the gym. So if you can kind of get out of this like low carb mentality, like, so I've had my clients actually repeat that to me, like carb, 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 just to like, it's like contract, contract, contract. And it's true. So that kind of like helps people like, okay, because they come from this like low carb background, and that's probably why they're soft, like this avatar we're talking about, right? It's like low protein, low carb, just trying to eat good, some of the days a week, and they're probably eating super low calories, and then they eat way too much on the weekends, and then they do these classes, and they're kind of just spinning their wheels, right? But they're so good during the week, right? They're eating this certain amount of calories that is very unsustainable, probably makes you feel like shit, and then probably having somewhat of a binge on the weekends, if you will, and just you end up spinning your wheels because they're too scared to actually commit to just eating a little more days a week.
For more often. And that's the thing. It's like you're scared to eat. Like you can even be eating those calories, but your mindset's still in restriction, still in that burning mentality, and that will sabotage you. The way you think about food influences your hormones. Like honestly, your relationship with food can fuck up your gut health, and it can screw up I'm trying not to swear on this one, screw up your gut health, screw up your hormones, and make things worse for you. Like if you think about a meal being really low calories, you're going to be really hungry after that, which is why when my clients are in a fat loss phase, and I was reflecting on this before, like how my comp prep clients, because I used to always have people coming to, like, I was always overbooked when I was a comp prep coach because people always saw that my girls got the best results mentally and physically. And that was mainly because I didn't want them to focus on fat loss or the scale. They didn't use the scale. I had the mentality that when you stand on the stage, they're not going to ask you how much you weigh. So, not focusing on fat loss, they didn't have that scarcity mindset around food. They just thought of eating that food. So, it took them a longer time to realize I'm hungry, I'm in a diet phase. And that's the same thing here. Like, I'll never do that again. But that's the same thing here. But that was also before lockdowns. I feel like after lockdowns and the economy, it's just like no one's ever going to be at that stage. Like, it's insane. You will have more success in a fat loss phase if you are not so focused on the fact that you're in a fat loss phase, just because it's more likely to increase your hunger. I'm sure that's what you can attribute to yours as well.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it is mindset, in a fat loss phase. Like if you're constantly thinking about food and what to eat next, and it's too much. Like you just have to kind of commit and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Kind of having your like one track mind, like let me just get in and out of this thing and do it 100%, and that's the way I think it should go, because that's the most success I've ever had, is like when you just kind of put your head down and just grind and can go.
And
Like,
you saw that more people got results before lockdowns as well, because before lockdowns there wasn't Instagram. Instagram was hardly a thing back then. There was less information to consume. There were less online coaches. That's probably also what contributed to the whole comp prep thing, where I was able to get so much success with everyone, because they weren't digging out their seed every 24/7, like 24/7. They weren't getting all of this information online. But this is the biggest thing that holds you back in this phase. It's the information you're seeing online. It's the photos you're seeing online of people apparently looking lean, people that you don't see the story of, the timeline of. But even more than that, you don't know whether they're on performance enhancing drugs, whether it's a natural photo or whether it's enhanced, whether it's photoshopped. There's that side of the thing. But then there's also, you see them how you do not see yourself. So, for example, I used to look at people and think they look really freaking amazing, and then not realize, hey, I actually have more muscle than her. Why am I thinking that she has more muscle? But I wasn't seeing that in myself. Like I was looking at an old photo that I used to have as my thing. Like I used to want to look like that, but then I looked at where I was and like, I actually looked better than that, and I didn't even see it. Like
yeah.
I didn't realize that I was leaner than her. I had more muscle than her, but here I am, like thinking, how does she have it so easy? It's like you don't see those things at times. But yeah, of course there were others. But who do you fill your feed with? It's not the majority of people out in the world. You fill your feed with the people you aspire to. So no wonder you feel a lack in comparison. But that was a long way of saying that's one of the biggest things that holds people back. But you said the other one, so I want to go off that one as well, because you mentioned carbs. I don't want people to think that means if you don't train that you don't deserve carbs, because you should still be eating your carbs on your rest days. Muscles, the bigger the muscles you have, the more muscles you have, the more carbs you can eat, the more carbs you can tolerate around the week, full stop. Because muscles hold that. As soon as you eat carbs, the more muscles you have, they're going to soak that in, especially if you're insulin sensitive, especially if you're active outside of the gym. Being active outside of the gym and having a fuck ton of muscle is the physique that you want over time, over patience, over consistency. But okay, the other thing that holds people back, they do not fuel their workouts enough. So this avatar that we're talking about, we've got the training hard, we got the eating at maintenance, which is probably more calories than you think you're eating, but optimizing that nutrition. To now, let's look at what your pre-workout meal is. Let's prioritize carbs there. Let's make sure you're getting in enough protein through the day and making sure you're getting in your protein bolus after you work out, and not gulping down a friggin' shake. You have 2 hours to consume your protein, but getting in enough. And I would be like, get at least 40 grams of protein after you train.
Definitely. 40 grams of protein, and I'd say like 40 grams of carbs at least. Yes. So, I mean, obviously depending, the times of day you train, but build your meal should be biggest around your training. Really, that would be really awesome for this person specifically that we're talking about, the soft person. Just to dial in some of those little nutritional tweaks would probably make a huge difference. Pushing some intensity and just focusing on some fuel right around the training, before, pre and post, and then obviously the rest of the day too, but especially there, I think that person would be doing really awesome and really probably very scared in the beginning of eating more food, and like, oh my God, how do you want me to eat 1,800 calories? I've been eating, 1,300 calories. But really, have you? Because if you're soft, you definitely haven't been consistently eating 1,300 calories, right? So just, tweaking some of those little things would make such a huge difference for so many women.
Or you were eating 1,300 calories. You were like Mac, and you were trudging your feet through the floor and giving less effort, because metabolic adaptation doesn't actually exist the way that many people think it does. So you're either eating some extras, not even every day. You could be perfect most days of the week, but then you have a day that you go over by quite a bit. And that does count when your activity through the day is less. Like your step count might be within 1,000 calories. I mean, 1,000 steps of where it usually is. You might be really adamant on that stuff. But when you're not walking, you're a friggin' couch potato. When you're not walking, you're too lazy to like move your arms. So you're walking around like a what do you call those? You know those like balloons that stand out in front of the like sales things, and they just move like this. They just blow one way and then blow the other way, and that's just like your whole day. You're not actually doing anything. Like there was a real salesperson there being like, "Come into the store!" Like there's two different people. I don't know how I thought of that analogy, but that's a great one.
It's a great one.
That's another thing that like this specific person also needs a shitload more patience, because we are in maintenance and muscle is the slowest thing to build, which that was what I had written on here as well, in that muscle takes way more than even 5 times the amount of time to build than fat is to lose. Like fat is so fast to lose if you do it right. But most people aren't doing it right, which is why they're struggling. But bringing it back to the start of the conversation, no one is willing to do the things for long enough to get them to a place where fat loss is freaking easy. Actually, I can even say easy, because it's like it is going to be freaking hard. But stop making it harder for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get your body running efficiently, right? And spending more time at maintenance calories, just letting your body like do its thing, feeding it, fueling it, giving all the micronutrients, the proteins, the carbs, training hard, recovering, letting your body just run efficiently for a long period of time, rather than this yo-yoing in and out, like going such low calories, to binging on the weekends, to drinking alcohol, to not sleeping, then to honing it back in on Monday and redoing it all again. It's just like this whole vicious cycle. So it's like just committing to actually spending time at maintenance and like doing it and following through and being patient and realizing like, yeah, shit might seem stagnant because nothing exciting is necessarily happening like visually. Like you might be kind of hanging out, staying the same. The scale might be hovering around the same 2 to 5 pounds. It's like not as exciting as fat loss when shit's happening, that's really tangible to see. That's where people lose their like, they're like, I'm actually gaining weight. And it's like, no, you're just hanging out at the same 2 to 5 pounds. Like you got to just stay in it long enough, and that's it. Like, but most people just don't have the patience for that.
And then because they don't have the patience, or because they don't have this, you hold this like tight obsession to fat loss. So when there is no fat loss goal, when there is no endpoint, when there is no tangible results being seen all the time, or when you can't see yourself as you used to see yourself, it gets really freaking hard to stay the process. So maintenance becomes like a swimming pool all over the place, instead of a creek that has defined restraints on either side and it's going to a particular direction. And I say a creek because creeks don't go straight up and down like a waterfall. Like it actually maneuvers, because that is your journey, but it has restraint. Like there is flexibility in that water. Like it's going to do all the shit that it wants to do, but it has restraint. And that is exactly what your journey is. It is maneuvering through all of these things.
It's actually what I was just talking about when I did a live with Mack. So I was like explaining maintenance as like driving on like a freeway, it's like, like a fat loss, let's say it's like one lane, you're just tight, you're in this like, and then you like weave into maintenance and you're kind of on this like freeway and you have like maybe 3 or 4 lanes to weave in and out of, but there are still guardrails, right?
Yeah. I'm inserting this here. If you've listened to my podcast with Stu, great. If not, go listen to my podcast with Stu, because this is the very thing we spoke about. Exactly what you said. Maintenance is driving on a highway. I'm now taking this because it fits in with my other analogy. Maintenance is like driving on a highway. There are so many lanes, so many aspects for you to progress. That is where you're progressing. You can look at this car, this car, this car. Maybe this car is still, maybe this car is struggling. But there's all these other things for you to zoom out and see, hey, there are these other elements of my life that are progressing, like your relationship with food, your relationship with the body, your relationship with your husband and kids and everyone else now, because you're able to enjoy social events. All these things are improving. Oh, and in the meantime, you are just getting stronger, lifting more. All of these are moving you down the highway, even though that car is still. And progress happens here. It doesn't happen on the side road. The side road is like traffic is backed up. And you're progress, but it's backed up. You're revealing the progress that was made over there. Like, actually, a best way to think about that, Loss, is progress is this motorway. We're all going forward with all these cars, all these measures of progress. You take an exit and you go down the Mirandering path, blah, blah, blah. You want to visit things out there. That's the fat loss phase. You're going to need to pick up your fuel there because there's no fuel. There's no actual like fuel stations all cluttered together. And it's like you're driving and you have to make sure that you fuel up in time before the next one. Like you're wanting to make sure that you're fueling for this journey because there's no constant. It's like there's constant fuel stations on this highway because it's popular. On this one, there's not a lot. You have less food. So you need to be really careful about how many times you stop to go and wander. Because let's just say that your body burns fuel by walking and then your car burns fuel by driving. So you have to be careful about how you use that fuel. Too much of that training, which is you getting out of the car and then doing a training session, getting back into the car, all that adds up. Then you get out again and do a cardio run and then get back in. All this stuff adds up and you're going to need to make sure that you have enough before you get your next fuel. And that's kind of a way to think about it. But you're not progressing towards where you want to go on the road. You're just revealing the progress. You're able to reveal whatever there, even though it's not really revealing. That's just like, like you're living your life on this highway. This is where the fun happens.
Yeah, and there's like times where you can think about like you can drive in the middle and you can be a little tighter. And then you might go on vacation and you're like, you can like be a little looser, you know? So like there's different phases of maintenance, I think, even like, you know, like there's like like going on a work trip, you know, you might want to just kind of keep it tight. But going on a vacation, you might want to be a little looser, you know? So it's like sort of like that same analogy of like loose, you know what I mean?
Another way to think about this too is your house. Like you're living in your house, that's your maintenance. You go out for vacation, that's your fat loss phase, but you're always returning back to your house. And if you stay away for too long, you're going to have more bills to pay when you come back that you didn't the house for. You're going to have to do the dusting and the cleaning. And if you had kids that you left behind or dogs that you left behind or whatever else in the house, then you're going to have to deal with all that shit that's accumulating.
Totally.
I think we went down our mirroring path for like that, but that covers like the training and the food aspect. But I don't think we spoke too much about the training, and because the training is really going to play a part in the other two, well, especially the skinny fat person. With training, yes, we need to train hard, and that's exactly why we said it's not about the iliac fibers. It's about, are you actually training freaking hard enough for the lat pull down? Like do the bigger moves that are going to get the compounds. Like, but I think the other thing is people are so warped up with, let's do cable kickbacks. Let's do friggin' these little tiny glute muscles. How about you just learn how to squat, use a leg press, use things that are conducive for using a lot of muscle mass. Yes, you need to do a lot of, if they're like, I'm doing a lot of my little niggle work. Like I've got some weird adductor split squat thing that I'm standing on a tightrope, so I'm not able to use a lot of weight, and it's just one dumbbell in one hand, and I'm focusing on getting my adductors on it, not anything else. Like there are certain things where, you might need to tidy up that stuff, but that is what allows you to build the foundation. Just hammering something harder because it burns more or it might build more because more muscle, you're going to hit more plateaus. You could injure yourself because now all you're doing is, okay, so you're not focusing on the scale anymore. Hey, this one's good for you. You're not focusing on the scale anymore. So now you've reverted that bad relationship with the process, with yourself, with body fat, with whatever it is, to now training. Let's just get as many PRs as possible, as much workload as possible. That in itself can lead you down a spiral because now you're cutting the movement short. You're not actually engaging the muscles or doing the movement right. How can that be a big mistake for this?
Huge. I mean, anybody starting out, like this person that we're talking about, like should be focusing on, like you said, stability, like a leg press, and just some bigger stuff, bigger tissue, a lot of tissue. And then as you get more advanced, like then you could start focusing on the glute medius and the psoas and these little teeny muscles, the rear medial delt fibers and like all the little stuff. But I mean, really, yeah, nailing the basics, getting that foundation is key. Then you worry about the smaller stuff as you go.
How about the arm days and the ab day training? You don't need a whole freaking day for shoulders or arms. You don't need a whole freaking day for your abs. These are small muscle groups. You are not
Yeah.
going to train them into more muscle growth by having a whole 60-minute session dedicated to your biceps and your triceps.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, that was probably something I did in 2012, before I knew anything.
Splits. I thought bro splits died out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the most tissue you can target in the beginning at first session with, and be able to recover from would be key for somebody like this,
Exactly.
I think even like you said, stability, like not even like a barbell squat, for somebody who's just starting out, like let's just focus on pushing some weight, and like leg press, awesome move right there, right?
Squat machines.
Yeah, squat machines, exactly. Just learning the basic patterns and then getting really good at that before you going to progress. But nobody wants to take the time, and that's the problem. And then again, like you said, social media, they see all this fancy, these influencers and whoever doing this fancy stuff, these like cable kickbacks and the iliac kickbacks and the glute minimus this and glute medius that. And like, no, you don't need to be doing that like right now out of the gate. We want to get a lot of tissue involved, not just these teeny little ones, right?
Yeah, so. And we're feeding you in maintenance because maintenance is giving you a conducive environment for growth now. But I think another mistake a lot of people make in maintenance is the fact that they think it means their weight stays the same, but your weight will fluctuate, especially because muscle weighs something. And if you are doing maintenance right, over the years, you will be heavier, but you will also look leaner because muscles. Don't you find it hilarious when people say they want to grow their glutes and to look athletic, but as soon as they put on tight jeans and they're more snug than usual, they freak the fuck out, or they put on their clothes from when they lost weight a bunch before, but they just look soft, or maybe they looked fine, but they were starving themselves on like 1,200 calories. It's just like, how is that serving you?
Yeah, no, for sure. You have to remind people like, hey, it's actually a good thing the scale's going up. That means the shit's working. Your muscle weighs something. Yeah.
I feel like some things can happen in your life and then you just try to take control via your body sometimes, which isn't conducive, which is why emotional regulation is also really important, because you're in this phase that is just so different from what you're used to. But what you're not remembering, Mack was actually the smartest to bring this up because I didn't even think about it until you did. So thank you. What was your history? Because if what was working, what not was working, if what you were doing and repeating over and over was not working, it's not going to suddenly start working now, regardless of whether you got a coach. It's not going to just work if you keep that same mindset. Like if you think about it, if you think
you hired a coach because something wasn't working. You weren't happy with something. So when I say we're going to eat 1,800 calories because you were eating 1,300, like, no, I can't do that. Like, well, how about we try this one thing that you haven't actually tried yet, your whole life? And like, sometimes that little conversation works really well. Like, let's try something you haven't tried. I remember thinking that the first time I had to eat more, like back in the day when, I was eating low calories, and it's like, what do you mean 1,900 calories? And then I remember my wife being like, you've never done that. Like, why don't you try that? Like, just open your mouth. And it's like, yeah, you're right.
It's scary. It is really scary to try something new, especially when it's a longer term thing and you're not going to see whether it's worked in a few weeks. It's something that you need to give a few months to see if it's doing anything. Like we said, if it wasn't working before, why not give yourself the chance to shift your focus? Because if you're still focusing on we're just focusing on this one avatar and we still have to double into the other two. But if you're still focusing on the fact that you're waiting for the next fat loss phase or to reveal the muscle that's underneath, you're not ready. You're still in that restriction mindset because you haven't yet shifted your metric of progress. Until you learn to look for metrics in other areas to expand your meaning of success and progress, it is very hard to make consistent consistent progress in that direction. You'll keep getting held up by stoplights. You'll keep friggin' running over some, I don't know if they do it. I don't even know if they actually do it. But in Need for Speed, they put on like spike bars on the, I haven't played Need for Speed in ages, but they put like spike bars on the road, the police, to like catch you if you're doing like a wild police chase. That you're going to keep coming up with those and then having to like get the mechanics in to fix the car again, but you can't get the car on the road again until you've done the maintenance service to it. It's like you want to get that car pristine. Is there anything else you want to talk about for this avatar?
No, I don't. I think we covered that avatar pretty good.
Yeah, I hope we did, because this is more just having you understand the different thoughts that can go on in our head when we're going through these phases. Like the last podcast I did with Mack was all on what it takes to build muscle, like the actual training aspect. And there are so many other episodes on this podcast where it goes into like the nuances, but I don't think those nuances matter until you realize that the thoughts you're having, your experiences are very normal, but you're holding yourself back.
Yeah, for sure. All starts in your mind. I mean, that's it.
How about if someone keeps saying they want to lose the fat before they build the muscle because they're more in that under-muscled category? I think this is the thing though, like you could be in the under-muscled category, which I find many women, but they don't see it. They just see fat.
Yeah.
Take that with you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think a lot, like I can say a lot of those women are the ones doing the classes and they think they're like building muscle because they're, huffing and puffing and burning and doing, they're lifting the weights, but they're not building any muscle. And then they're wondering why they're just spinning their wheels. And, it's because they're not actually putting any tension on their muscle that's going to grow the actual tissue. So, I mean, I think that's it, really.
I actually don't come across many women that are doing classes anymore. They've learned that they need to do structured training, but what they're doing is like 6 days a week of training and not recovering. And it's like, if you can do 6 days of hard-ass training a week, you're not training hard enough in your sessions, or your sessions aren't effective enough.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Definitely not effective enough.
You train 4, 5, 4?
4 or 5. Yeah.
So that was one of my biggest things. I'm going to get you to talk on that one too. This was one of the biggest things that changed for me, in that I was scared to let go of a 6th day, because if I let go of that 6th day, I'm going to just get fat. I'm going to lose muscle. I'm going to go backwards. And the comment, I don't train hard enough. I don't lift heavy enough to earn 5 days. And then when I went from 5 to 4 days, that was even more scary. But this 5th day is such a big, like it actually was something that helped me at first, because I was in my early 20s. But as I got to like my mid 20s and towards the 30s, I started to realize, okay, this isn't fitting in with my lifestyle anymore. I'm realizing there is too much actual stress going on, and 5 days isn't serving me, just because all this compounded stress does impact your physique. It impacts your recovery. It impacts your ability to put the effort into the training that you are doing. But I haven't earned it yet. Well, you're never going to earn it if you never give yourself the chance to. Give yourself the 4 days and get better at the 4 days.
Right. I mean, more is not always better, right?
Tell me about the 6, because you said
from like 6, and like I was even doing like 2 a days, back in the day. Like, don't even know how I was doing that. But it's scary to do less, but so much better to do less. And now I actually love my rest days. I mean, I look forward to them. I love training super hard, but I also love resting super hard.
Same here. And I think that's where, because now there's this uprise. So skinny fat people, you should be eating at least maintenance. If anything, you should be eating more than maintenance into a 5% surplus. But you can still stay in maintenance for a little while until you learn how to stop training. Like I like to say training like a princess, because I used to say I train like a princess. So I feel like I'm allowed to say it because I used to call myself a princess. But once you start to learn how to train like a badass, get yourself into a surplus and grow some real tissue. Like, be more afraid of muscle loss or not gaining muscle after all the effort you're putting in than you are afraid of gaining fat or gaining weight on the scale. Because the worst fate is realizing 3 to 4 years later that you still look pretty much the same with very meaningful change because you did not do the work. You can't say you want the muscle. You can't say you want the leaner physique if you aren't willing to do the hard work. And the hard work is not grinding in 6 days and sweating and puffing and puffing. The hard work is that very shit that's uncomfortable. What were we talking about a second ago before I went back into the skinny fat?
Under muscled.
I think it was the under muscled. Was it the under muscled? But we spoke about what to do for there. But then we were talking about the 2-a-days and the 6-a-days and all of that stuff as well. Like, it's like, if you train really hard, you will start to realize that when you're resting, you're able to have more energy for your day. You're able to do more. You could find yourself eating more calories now because there is a difference between non-exercise activity thermogenesis and non-exercise physical activity. Non-exercise physical activity is the steps. That's what you're burning with the steps. But the non-exercise activity thermogenesis is the other activity, like what I'm doing right now with my hands and all the other. That is what falls. That is completely out of your control. The NEPA, the physical activity, the non-exercise physical activity, that is in your control. The other part is not. That is what adapts, whether you like it or not. Some of us adapt harder, adapt faster. I'm one of those people. Like, I need to jack my calories up closer to 3,000 calories because all I ever want to do is walk. All I ever want to do is move when I'm eating food, especially because I'm eating freaking carbs. Like, all I want to do is just move my body. Like, all I want to do is go for another walk. Like, I just want to move. But
you blink more, you talk with your hands, you tap your foot, you just have a lot more energy without even realizing what you're doing, like me, because I can always tell when I'm in maintenance.
Exactly. We're not exhausting ourselves in the gym, and that's the biggest part. And it's you're not realizing that the stress that comes from your outside world really impacts all of this other stuff. And if you're like, the whole earning of your exercise, the whole I haven't earned it yet, giving yourself that time to build up capacity, to build up your ability to do the exercises instead of just loading it as fast as possible, rushing through it, not filming your lifts, not having the confidence to scale things back so then you can start progressing forwards, also bottlenecks you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add for our little skinny fat friend? It's just the fat and not the muscle. That's the issue, because she doesn't like how she looks in her clothes. She doesn't like how she feels in her clothes. I need to get leaner. My stomach is all flabby. Muscle.
Yeah, muscle. I mean, it's just the answer for most everybody, honestly. I mean, it just will change your shape. It will change everything. I mean, it's really the answer. That's it.
Like, it will change your confidence.
Yeah, and then that too, like that side of it too, like just feeling like a badass in the gym when you start pushing some weight. Like, I don't know if I'm sure you've had clients that like don't lift much, and then all of a sudden, they trust the process and they go with you, and then they all of a sudden like start pushing like 25 pounds, and it's like, coming from like the little pink dumbbells to now pushing like some weight, and how good they feel. And it's so awesome to watch these people just like grow their confidence and realize like, holy shit, lifting weights and eating food.
Exactly. I have a girl who I'm so thankful that she went to high school with me, because she trusted me to oblivion because of this. But she was like this skinny little stick pretty much, but she thought that she needed to lose weight because there was no muscle on her. She was like, literally, it was like, she wasn't a skinny stick. She was skinny fat, but there was like no muscle to her. So she felt she needed to lose fat. It was fat loss she wanted. Instead, we just focused on getting her stronger, building muscle. She questioned it. She was like, her life was full. She has a professional job. She had like somewhere she has that. She has a fulfilling life. She's living her life. It allowed her to go through this process. Like, if your life is not full, you are going to be more like self-critical of your body. But anyway, she was training at home. She never thought that she would go into a gym ever. A year and a half later, she's in the gym. But anyway, ever thought that she would go into a gym. She had no confidence. She's like, but I wouldn't know how to use machines. I wouldn't want to be seen as like this weak little frail person. I don't have the muscle for that. I'm not fit enough for that yet. Anyway, she was doing dumbbell curls with 2 kilos and failing. And now she's got them with 8 kilos. Like, that is how slow progress happens, but it gets you there. And from Romanian deadlifting a 10-kilo bar to now Romanian deadlifting, I think she's on 70 kilos. That is a lot. Like, that is a lot.
And it's so cool to watch. And it's so cool to see people get excited about that and just like how their confidence just grows. And then it just affects, it's a trickle effect, you know, down your whole life. Like, you're just like better in everything. You're more confident. You're a better wife. You're a better mother. You're a better dog mom, whatever you are. Like, everything's just better, you know? It's really cool to watch when you have clients that, like, you know, get the breakthrough like that. And it's awesome.
It really is. And this is the thing, like, you can hear Mack and I talking about this. We are passionate about this stuff. Like, we care about your results. We love seeing you win. Sometimes we feel like you don't care about it as much as we do because you keep sabotaging yourself and you don't even trust yourself. But trust us, because we care. People like us, people like Matt, people like me, we actually really care about you as a person, not as someone buying a ticket into our high-end group coaching app that does this, that, and the other. Like, no, we care about you. And the last, just quickly touching on to sum this up, the overweight person, you still need to be training like everything we just said, putting in the effort. You can, that was the other thing I wanted to say, the cardio aspect. I will come back to the cardio aspect in a second. We can quickly discuss that. But this overweight person, you can put yourself into a deficit and still build muscle until a certain point. Focusing on both is going to spin your wheels. Get your training in a place that is designed to get you strong and build muscle. Leave it on autopilot and stop trying to win trophies with your lifting. Just aim to get stronger, aim to get better. Because sometimes focusing too much and putting your worth on how strong you get or trying to build muscle can sabotage what you do with your food. Because you're trying to eat, like, it's just the mindset of trying to do both. Focus on fat loss first, but have your training designed to build muscle. And this is for someone with excess adiposity, like really overweight.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, with those kind of people, I would always say, like, let's just focus on your protein and getting your fiber in and train, like, and focus on strength training, right? And yes, building them a program that is very basic movements that will target a lot of muscle tissue, get you stronger, build that foundation while you start cleaning up your food just a little bit. Like, let's just work on protein and fiber. And you watch these results just start happening when they start just focusing on those things, then building off that, you know, then we can get more specific. But that's how I always start with the overweight client. Yeah. You know, you don't have to change a ton. You just have to, like, swap out some of your shitty foods for a little bit better sources, you know, like let's get some chicken breasts and let's get some, you know, some vegetables. And
exactly. It's the basic foods that you already know.
I mean, exactly. And just starting to lift weights and, like, your body starts changing, like, so quickly just by doing those basic things. So I like to start always, like, really basic like that. And then, you know, then snowball from there.
This is one thing that you guys need to understand. You don't need to change a lot at first. Progress happens pretty damn fast at first, but you need to fix the mindset because you are going to have to, like, there is no going about it. There is no going around it. There is no beating it. You're going to get to a place where you feel like you're going backwards every week because you are now 5 years into your journey, 7 years into your journey. Changes happen so slow that if you compare yourself to other people, because you see what you overemphasize their greatness while you're diminishing yourself, that is a big contrast. That's going to make you feel less than and like you're not getting anywhere. You are still progressing. It's just really freaking slow. And it takes a lot of fight. You are going to see a lot of changes at first. Just don't cut yourself down. The last thing I want to quickly touch on is cardio. Cardio in maintenance, cardio when building is your focus. As the first avatar we spoke about, Just don't overdo it. But as long as you're fueling it, cardio is amazing and it's going to help your results. If you're
Yep.
in a callous phase and if you're under fueling, I'm going to get your opinion on all three. I'm going to say all three and then you go. If you're in a fat loss phase, if you're under fueling, if you're still in the restriction mindset, if you still are in the exercise tied to calories mindset, you aren't in a place to be adding in cardio.
No.
Because you're going to look worse.
No, I mean, definitely not. Walking, fine, but you are not adding in any extra cardio at that point.
Yeah. It's something that's better. If you care about muscle, cardio is better when you're fed. It's better when you're in maintenance. It's better when you're focused on performance and you're using cardio for something not calorie burning. Like I freaking hate it, but I love it at the same time. Like I do it because I feel so good pushing myself into something I hate. I would prefer to do 2 days a week, but at the moment I'm doing 1 day a week and it's just a really long run. And it makes me feel good after it and I'm feeding for it. If anything, my only thought on my mind now, which is so far from where I used to be, is just like I need to make sure that I eat enough so that this doesn't eat into my muscle performance tomorrow.
That's it. I mean, especially if you are in a fat loss phase, like you gotta pick and choose, right? Like you want to have that energy for your lifts. So when you have to when you're eating on low calories, like you have to kind of prioritize. And I think building muscle would be the way to go for that. If you're low on calories, right?
Yeah, you want to focus on the muscle stuff. So I love that. Is there anything else that you want to touch on? And if you are in that overweight category, cardio is your best friend. It's just going to help you become a better fat burner in my eyes.
Yeah.
But do want to prioritize strength training. It's just get in as much cardio as you can that you can recover from, and that doesn't leave you wanting to eat the pantry because now you're ravenous.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, people always underestimate walking. I mean, just getting your steps in is awesome.
Yeah,
I know for sure.
100%. I would say that too. Anything else that you want to add? Muscle. I want to end with the priority. It's not the prioritized. The importance of muscle.
I mean, I can't stress it enough, and I don't think you can. I think we've done a pretty good job. I mean, it's going to make you look better, feel better, move better, age better, all of it, right? And just make you more badass all around.
Exactly. As soon as you get that into your head, you will only succeed. So with that was Mack, Kelly Mack, and you will find her at Mack Fitness 305 on Instagram. Her handle will be down below. And anything else to say?
That's it. Thanks for having me.